Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel, the only gun channel dripping with that BDE. That's right, Big Dad Energy. I've got a truly terrible joke for you guys today. How does The Rock pee? He Dwayne's his Johnson. I know, it's really that bad. It is that bad, but that's what makes it great. I'm David, and this is the SIG Sauer P226 Legion updated for 2023. Those of you who follow the channel know that I got a SIG P226 X5 that I got as a media gun and ended up ultimately purchasing to keep for my own collection because I really liked it. And I had some gift cards burning a hole in my pocket to my local gun store, so I went there, and every once in a while I will buy a gun that is for the channel but is really for me. The only other gun I've done that with beyond my competition guns has been the Walther PPK-S, which is just a cool gun, and I shot this gun in a video. Don't watch the old video on it because my video production skills were, well, they needed work. But anyway, I was really impressed with that. It was a buddy's gun. It was the iron sight version, and as you can see in 2023, they've updated the slide to accept the standard SIG optic cut, which will take a RMR footprint optic or a Delta Point Pro. There are no recoil bosses in the pocket, so if you don't use the SIG optics, you may have to use an aftermarket plate. Since it's not a media gun that was sent to me or anything like that, I paid full retail. I think I paid $12.99 for the gun. Didn't come with the optic on it. I took the optic off another gun and mounted it. I'm actually going to use this gun for carry just because I like the 226 series so much, and I mean that very sincerely. In 2023, the double action, single action game, there's not many optic ready options going, and this is one of the finer ones that you can get. And I'll talk about the features that kind of make the 226 desirable to me. First and foremost, since people are always wanting to say it, the gun does have a high bore axis, and that's going to be common for most hammer fired guns. And what a bore axis is, for those guys who are new, it's basically the height from where you get up on the gun to the center of the bore or barrel line. So the higher the bore axis of the gun, the more the gun is going to want to lift in recoil, because the slide has more advantage as it kind of reaches the peak of the slide travel. So it's going to bounce a little bit more than a lower bore axis gun, but that's really not the important part when you're trying to do performance shooting. The important part is how the gun returns to zero. And SIG Sauer has figured out how to make gun grips at this point, where their frames are, especially the aluminum frame guns. It's true on their P320 aluminum frame guns. It's true on the 226 series. They make one of the most comfortable grips in the game right now. So the return to zero for the 226, despite kind of the way it bounces, is really, really good. It returns to zero like a champ, and as a result, you can shoot this gun as fast as the lower bore axis guys with just as much accuracy, because the return to zero is amazing. And that's assisted by the trigger. The trigger on the 226 Legion is really, really good. It has their short reset trigger. The single action is about a 6-pound trigger with almost no over travel, very little reset. The trigger ergonomics, which are very, very important, are nearly ideal, at least for my hand shape and size. The break of the trigger, you can see where it is right there loaded up on the wall. It's not a flat face trigger. I actually prefer curved triggers, especially on double action guns, and this gun really delivers both in the ergonomics and trigger quality. The actual double action stroke that it has is kind of heavy. It's about a 9-pound double action, and then it goes to the 4-pound single, but the gun is it's very easy to shoot. Double action isn't a problem to make hits with. One of the things I really like about the 226 series, especially as a double single gun, is where the decocker, specifically on the Legion model, it's a little bit nicer setup where it's right there where you can just drop the hammer like that. Downside to that is it's a little bit confusing when you're trying to send the slide home or do administrative gun handling and lock the slide to the rear. Just the slide release is itty bitty and tucked away on the frame, and it's not as intuitive to get on. You'll want to get on the decocker a little bit, but not that big a deal once you get used to shooting the gun. Other aspects that make the 226 Legion really desirable is the checkering on the front strap of the gun. It's a kind of a fine texture that does bite into your hands pretty good, but really the grip panels that come on the Legion are fantastic. As much as I love aftermarket gun grips, these grips are squared away, and they're actually very, very good. They are not enough to tear up my skinny daddy tummy, but at the same time, they provide enough traction where the gun doesn't move around on me. The gun's weight is in the low 30 ounces, ounces, which is kind of a nice do-all gun. It's light enough where you can carry it. It's heavy enough to where it stays stable and is pleasant to shoot. The bounce, as we talked about in the bore axis segment, is actually a feature for the gun and not a flaw, because so much of the energy of shooting the gun is lost in the flip and return that it doesn't wear out your hands nearly as much as some of the lower bore axis options. So the gun is super duper pleasant to shoot. Another nice thing about the 226 series is the Metgar magazines available for the gun are widely available, and they don't cost a whole lot of money, so you can get magazines for your gun for a very low price. If you buy them straight from SIG, they're going to ask you SIG prices, which is like 40 bucks a mag, but you can get the Metgars for like 30 bucks or less, which is a nice price to be at. Because it is a Legion, if you register the gun at SIG Sauer, they will send you a range bag and a challenge coin, because I know how all you bros are challenged. You should do better. Just kidding, just kidding. I love you guys. As the Legion series really is kind of a pride in ownership game. They have this kind of interesting, I think it's called like Legion Gray, but it's this weird like gray-green color. Depending on the lighting you have it in, it can look almost like OD green. It can look almost like a kind of a gray color, almost like an FDE. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. And because it has full-length slide rails, it's just really nice. The slide action is almost like it's on ball bearings. Since the frame is aluminum and it's a hammer-fired gun, there's just more of a soul there. It just feels like a better gun than, you know, a plastic gun that costs the same amount. It just has more going on to it, where it feels almost like heirloom quality despite being a production gun. So the gun's role is really, it can be a home defense gun and it can actually be a carry gun. I'm actually pretty excited about it. I held off on making the video till my holster from Dark Star Gear showed up. So I bought the holster too, guys. The Dark Star Gear holster does a great job of making a big gun into a carry gun, and because the aftermarket magazines are actually like 18 rounders, there's plenty of firepower on tap. It's got a rail where if you want to mount a light, you can do home defense stuff with it, because as discussed, the gun's a pleasure to shoot, very, very accurate and easy to be accurate with if you can manage the double action first trigger pull. If you learn how to lock your wrist, it's not that big a deal. I've got other videos on the topic. But it's not all sunshine and puppy dogs with the P226. Every gun has quirks, and the 226 is no exception. The 226 has a high bore axis, as we discussed. I don't really find that to be a problem. Some people do. The 8.5, 9-pound double action trigger stroke is going to be a problem for some people to manage. I don't particularly mind it because I understand how to lock my wrist during the DA and not let my sights move. My double action shot is actually generally more accurate than a drawing from the holster single action shot because I lock my wrist harder. Go figure. The finish, since I just got my holster, I can't really comment on this. You can see the barrel hood has taken wear from all the shooting they've done, and at this point is probably at the 500 round mark. But traditionally, the Legion 226s had issues with the finishes wearing out. Whether that's true or not on the later guns, check back for more. I don't know yet. This is still kind of a getting to know you type video, but I'm sure I'll be able to comment on that after it's spent some time in the holster. Another thing that kind of bothers me, it irritates me on all the SIG Optic Ready guns like we're in 2023, is why not provide the co-witness height sights? I know you guys make them. I'm gonna order some for this gun. I'm gonna have to install them, but it'd be nice if you guys could just do that work for us, because the co-witness sights don't have to be that tall, and maybe they're just working through some of these low sights. Nobody uses iron sights anymore. I say that, but then there's gonna be like 70 million of you guys who are like, yeah, well, I do, and I know you do. I use red dots, and I'd like it if it had red dot height sights. Another feature is that because of where they put the roll mark that says SIG Sauer P226, and this is true on all 226s, is the front serrations don't come up onto the slide where I would want them to be to do like forward of the ejection port manipulations, which is kind of how they do stuff in the competitive shooting world. I mean, you can just slap the optic as well and it good well enough, but at the same time, I still like to manipulate at the front of the slide, and I wish that there was better serrations there. Slide profile is such that you don't even really need the serrations, but it'd be nice if they were more prominent. So obviously I love the gun. I think the 226 is a really cool series of pistols, and I'm really happy to finally be adding the Legion to my collection. I think the 22 series of pistols from SIG are amazing, and I'll probably end up filling out the roster with some other options as well, because like, I just think they're really cool guns. And, you know, being a child of the 80s, they were in plenty of action movies. You know, it was the special operator pistol or whatever for a while. So there's a soft spot in my heart for the Berettas and the P226s of the world. Sound off in the comments if you guys got questions. I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.